personalities into the workplace. You can see a slide going through, and this is Huawei's office, I think. And then you see like these little meeting areas to try and inspire people to have that childlike wonder, to have that imagination and that experimentation that can help bring creativity. But if we look at the research, this is from a meta-analysis, which is a type of study that just combines a lot of different research studies into one, and we see that there are pros and there are cons. So for the one side of things, we see that there is a lot of applicant attraction, right? So if you get your reputation, like all these Silicon Valley companies, that you have a game room, that you have all these fun atmospheres, that you have all this, the cat, and then we have it, the meeting room's named after it, you're gonna get a lot of resumes, right? But we also see that people are, in general, a lot more happy when they're doing their work. We see fewer turnover, and then my favorite is that you have a lot more informal learning. Whenever you have a more informal environment, people are just more open to sharing and saying, hey, I learned this new trick, or hey, this is how I figured out how to beat that different level, or let me tell you about how to do a quicker way in this process, right? People will feel more comfortable just casually sharing things that they've learned. All right, so there are some positives, but there are some definite downsides. Number one is that it acts exactly like an external or an extrinsic reward, right? So we talked about all the downsides of money earlier when we were talking about these extrinsic rewards and the things that you have to think about. All the same things apply with fun, because essentially it's just another type of extrinsic reward or a benefit, right? And namely, it's very short-lived, right? The second that you have a massage room at work, right? People are excited at first, but then all of a sudden it becomes the status quo, right? And it becomes the basis, and you have to have something else to get people excited or to get that same boost in motivation, right? So it's not something that's sustainable. It's not something that's really long lasting. And it's also something that you always have that competition with other people, particularly if your industry is someone that has all these kind of extracurricular perks. You're always competing with other people for those. It's also not for all industries, right? So if we think about our airline pilots, we definitely do not want them having fun in the air, right? Just doing loops for fun, right? That's not safe. We don't necessarily want that. So it's not something that we can apply to all people. Right? And most importantly, right? So I wouldn't say that all learning and growth comes from suffering, but certainly a good chunk of it does. And we know that motivation in and of itself is not just fun, right? So just think about it. Any of you who do these extreme sports, right? Anyone who's run a marathon, anyone who climbs mountains, right? Anyone who does these really difficult things. Whenever you're in the middle of that activity, right? Whenever you're on kilometer 20 of the marathon, it's not fun at all, right? There's not an ounce of joy in that experience in that moment in time. And yet people who do these things, they stop and then they go and they sign up for their very next race. It's not about having fun. That is always something that keeps you coming back. And motivation is a lot more than just happiness. All right, so fun is a good perk. It can help us informally learn. It's certainly going to help us attract applicants that want that, but it's not the be-all and end-all whenever we're looking to make work meaningful and whenever we're looking for purpose in our workplace. Also, a real big downside of so-called fun perks in the workplace is that there's a lot of subjectivity when it comes to what actually is fun.